Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the podcast with me, Troy Francis. It is the 27th of July. I'm in London and I'm coming at you with all guns blazing on this wonderful audio journey that we're going to take together over the next, 20 or 30 minutes. I might make it a little bit short today because I feel ever so slightly, not under the weather, but you know when you just feel a little bit like groggy. Maybe it's after the weekend or something. I don't know. Anyway, there you go. Here we are. And we are getting through summer. Last few days of July, coming into August, which is really high summer. And then, seasons are changing. So time is moving fast. We all have to move fast with it because, you don't want to waste any time. We've only got, as I was saying on Twitter earlier, we only have a few really meaningful decades on this planet as fully grown, functional adults, really. So I guess we've all got to think about how we want to spend that time, and one of the things in this space is that we talk a lot about these so-called black pill people who have this very nihilistic and negative view of life. And look, I mean, I've got a pretty negative and nihilistic view of life myself, but I think the difference is that I would rather, when faced with that knowledge, take action and just try to do something in order to have the best possible life that I can have. Whereas those guys tend to be very defeatist and they just say, well, there's no point in doing anything because nothing will change. You're lost in life. And I fundamentally disagree with that. I think while you're here, you might as well have a good crack of the whip, a good shot at living the very best possible existence that you can. And to hell with it, really, keep spinning the wheel, keep spinning the roulette wheel of life. And you never know, any day you could win big. And certainly that's been my experience and the experience of lots of guys that I know, lots of clients that I've worked with and so on and so forth. And I'm talking about in dating here, but obviously this applies to all different avenues of life. I mean, if you are not giving up, then you're still in the game and you can't be said to have failed. So even if you've been rejected by 99 girls, go ahead and try that 100th approach, because that 100th approach could be the one that pays off and gets you the girl of your dreams. And you're not going to know until you make that approach. And frankly, the reason why a lot of guys get subpar results in this area of their life and many other areas is because they give up too soon. They just don't keep trying. They don't keep turning over stones. They don't keep knocking on doors, whatever other metaphors you want to have for it. But you've got to just keep trying and persist. Anyway, that's a little bit of a rant to kick off today's episode. I don't actually want to talk about that subject today. Particularly, I want to talk about something else, which is why asking how do I get a girlfriend is the wrong question. But before I go into that, just to say, please do subscribe to the YouTube channel. I've seen some really great growth on here over the last year, but actually over the last month or so. It's been really great growth. So thank you sincerely to everybody who's subscribed, everybody who's come on board in the time that this channel's been running, which is over a year now. So thanks everybody for coming along with me on the journey. There's lots more fun and excitement to come. I can assure you, lots of great content I've got planned coming up. And for everybody listening to this, please do hit the subscribe button, because it really helps me to spread the message, to get more guys on board, and ultimately to make a bit of a living and to keep putting out free content for you, which I will continue to do as long as I possibly can. I'll continue to put out free content because that really is the backbone of all of this. I sell a few products. I have my books. I have the Charisma and Dating Academy course, which is coming out again on the 7th of August. More on that soon. But by and large, a lot of what I do is for free. I put out all of this free content. And so if you can support me in any way, that is massively gratifying. And I'm really, really grateful for that and for your support. So thank you very, very much. And even just subscribing, even if you don't buy anything, even just subscribing really, really helps me out. So thank you for that. Renegade Dating Domination, which is my collection of essays and articles from the last 5 or 6 years about dating and game and the dating marketplace and all of that good stuff. is currently available. So hit the link below if you're interested in that. And obviously, I highly recommend that you check it out because there's loads of great stuff in there, loads of essays and writing that I'm really proud of. It'll really help you to maximize your chances in the dating market in this summer of love, in this sort of post-COVID summer, but it's kind of not really post-COVID because we are seeing, things are very shaky out there still, but nevertheless, we are largely out of the kind of global lockdown situation that we saw earlier in the year, which is good. People are out and about, girls are out and about, there are opportunities out there in the dating scene. So yeah, please do make sure that you jump on board with that. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there because there was a little technical hiccup in the background. But anyway, so why is saying I want a girlfriend, how do I get a girlfriend, the wrong question? All right, so this is a bit of a personal bugbear of mine, I suppose. It's something that kind of not annoys me. That would be the wrong thing to say because I'm never annoyed by people's honest questions because, look, we all have questions when we come into this sphere. We all want to learn. We want to improve our lot in life. And, asking questions is absolutely right. And even if it seems like a stupid question, you should still ask it because even if it's been answered before, it might help somebody else and whatever. That's the only way you're going to get the information. Having said that, guys will often come to me or to content creators that I know, and they will say, listen, I just want to get a girlfriend. How do I find a girlfriend? How do I get a girlfriend? And for me, that's just totally the wrong question. And it bespeaks a little bit of naivety, I suppose, in terms of how things actually are on the dating scene out there in the red pill jungle that we all inhabit as part of our romantic and sexual lives. Because you shouldn't be, as a self-actualized man, you shouldn't be concerning yourself with how do I find this mythical girlfriend who, and the subtext of all of this, by the way, and you might not say this out loud, but underneath it, the subtext is quite clear. You are basically saying, how do I find this perfect girl that I can get together with, and it's all going to be wonderful, and she's going to fancy me forever, we're going to have fantastic sex, she's going to cook for me, she's going to clean, she's going to do all these wonderful things, she's going to be affectionate, and I will be shielded from the dating marketplace and I will no longer have to make any effort at all in terms of being charismatic, being magnetic, being attractive, etc., because I will have found this wonderful girl and that will be it and we'll just live happily ever after. And that, my friend, is the wrong way to go about things. Because when we say you should be on your mission, when we say you should be working on becoming great, or as Rich Cooper says, you should do the work, it is genuinely meant. It's not just a gimmick. It's not just a way to, sell books or sell courses or something like that. It is genuinely meant. You should primarily be on your mission, and the girls, if you like, the sexual side of things should be secondary to you pursuing whatever it is you actually really want to pursue in life. Now, the message is somewhat more nuanced than that, because as I will always say, you also need to work on your game. It's not just good enough to say, okay, fine, well, I'll just sort out my career, I'll just work on my coding 15 hours a day, and I'll never speak to a woman, and I'll get really rich working for a tech platform or whatever it is. And then the women will come to me because also I've got a six-pack and I've worked out in the gym every day for years, and, so therefore I don't have to understand social dynamics. You absolutely do have to understand social dynamics, and you absolutely do have to learn a bit about game, and you have to practice it. You have to go out and do it. But that doesn't mean that game and that dating skills should be your main focus. it might be your main focus for a period of time. If you are somebody who has had long-standing problems in this area and you really want to improve your ability to socialize and your ability to attract the kind of women that you want to meet and bring them into your life, then it makes sense for a period of time to subordinate other areas, other avenues to the task of meeting women. Okay, so yeah, for a period of time, you certainly can make dating, going out, talking to girls your principal activity. But I would counsel you to make sure that it's only for a limited period of time, because really, a life is made up of so much more than that romantic sexual component. Yes, that is really important, but if you allow it to get out of hand and if you allow it to become something that you focus on too much, then your life can become really, really unbalanced. And believe me, ask me how I know, it's because that has been something that's happened to me in my own life, okay? We often talk about addiction on this channel. I've talked before about my addiction to alcohol and to other substances, and also, I suppose, to a lesser degree, my addiction to work, to processes, to experiences, to places, and all of this. And is it correct? Is it accurate to say that I've been addicted to women, to romance, to sex, to dating in my time? Probably it is. And I don't want this podcast to go down the rabbit hole of discussing whether sex addiction is a real thing or not. I understand people are skeptical about it. I certainly don't think it's an addiction in the same way as an alcohol addiction exists or as an opioid addiction. It's not the same sort of beast as that by any means. But there are certainly process addictions. Gambling is a process addiction. People can get into a lot of trouble with that. You get even things like OCD, where people are clinically obsessed with cleanliness, with cleaning things, with sanitization. That can become an addiction. You have anorexia, which is another form of process addiction. And I believe that sex can also, or the pursuit of sex, let's say, can also become another sort of addiction. And listen, I'm not making any great claims that I have suffered from that in any sort of clinical way. But what I would say is that your life can become unbalanced. You can concentrate too much on this one particular thing, this one particular area of your life, to the detriment of other things. And maybe that's just part of growing up and maturing, right? Maybe this is something, because listen, when we are young, and that is to say when we are in our late teens, 20s, going into our early 30s, then frequently this is a huge, major preoccupation. Sex, the pursuit of sex, romantic relationships, etc., etc. And it does become something that we focus on perhaps too much. But what you need to do is, if you feel like that's becoming the case, if you feel like you're going down that route, you need to take a step back and remind yourself that the longer term is really important. And also as well, when you get to the end of your life on this planet, are you going to be satisfied with looking back on that life and thinking, so what did I achieve? Well, I had sex with a lot of different women. You know, I mean, yeah, sure, you can argue that that is an achievement of sorts, but in the big scheme of things, it's generally speaking not something that people are remembered for. It's generally speaking not regarded as being a very significant marker of accomplishment on this planet. I mean, yeah, you have perhaps Casanova, who's remembered for it. But then, of course, Casanova was also a very prolific writer. He wrote an autobiography, which is many volumes in length, and he described his adventures in detail. He described the social scene at the time that he was alive in great detail, with rich descriptions and rich evocations of the period. And if it hadn't have been for the writing that he'd done, would he be remembered in the way that he is? Possibly not. So even for a libertine like Casanova, whose whole life arguably was dedicated to getting laid, the only reason that he is notable, or perhaps a major reason why he's notable, is because he recorded it. And he spent a lot of time, doing that passion, that secondary passion, which was writing. So all of this is a long-winded way of coming around to saying you've got to have that other side to you. You've got to really focus in on the thing that you truly, from the depths of your soul, want to do while you're on this planet. You've got to really focus in on that. And I think for most of us, it isn't sex. I think for most of us, it isn't having a girlfriend or having a successful relationship. I mean, sure, that is without a doubt something that is very nice. It's desirable. It's something that many of us want in one shape or form or another. But it probably isn't really the main thing, I mean, you think about like Michael Jordan, for example. I mean, clearly for somebody like him or somebody like Tyson or even Donald Trump or Charles Dickens, Chopin, all of these people, they were driven by something greater than the mere desire to have a successful relationship. Although, in many cases, those people also had successful relationships, and that was very nurturing and beneficial to them, but it wasn't their main thing, okay? So, when we come back to the question, how do I get a girlfriend, it always troubles me slightly to hear the question phrased like that. Because for a start, it seems a little bit wussy somehow. It seems a little bit soy. In the sense of, what I mean by that is, look, I mean, having relationships is not soy. We're all human beings. We all want comfort. We all want love. We all want affection. That is just kind of natural. But to make it your sort of core goal just seems a little bit... I mean, you should have something more than that you're aspiring to. And even if you really, really, really aspire to that, even if you really, really, really want to get, you want to find somebody, you should still have something that's even more than that. You should be like, I want to write the great American law. I really, really want to have a good relationship, but ultimately I want to write the great American novel. And to be honest, if I had to choose between the two, then writing the great American novel would be the main thing for me. Or it could be, I really, really want to be successful in business, whatever the business is that you're in. I want to make this thing world-beating. I want to be recognised as one of the greatest in the world at this particular thing. And yes, I would also like to find a great woman and be in a relationship with her, or I'd like to have a girlfriend who's incredibly attractive and accomplished and whatever it is. But in the end, the thing that is more important to me is building that amazing business. It is creating wealth for myself. It is making a difference in the world, okay? And it might be, to be fair, that guys who come along with the question, how do I get a girlfriend, maybe they do already have that other burning desire. And probably because I'm somebody who creates content about dating and relationships and things, they obviously foreground their question in that direction. So they will say, how do I get a girlfriend? They're not going to say to me, how do I become the greatest physicist on the planet? Because that's not something I'm equipped to teach them about. So giving people the benefit of the doubt, maybe they do have these other aspirations, and maybe those other aspirations are more important to them than the one about finding a girlfriend. But I'm not sure that's always the case. And certainly even for myself, when I was a younger dude, back in my soy beta days, let's say, or my AFC, average frustrated chump days when I was in my late teens and early 20s, I was really concerned about getting a girlfriend because I believed that being able to attract a girlfriend was the ultimate marker of being a successful man. Because after all, what is our purpose on this planet other than to reproduce? Okay? And I bought into this narrative. And if you are not able to find somebody who's willing to have sex with you, to have a relationship with you, and ultimately perhaps to reproduce with you, then, you know, you have been marked out as a failure by the universe, blah-de-blah-de-blah-de-blah. And we hear this same argument being touted today. We hear it being touted by members of the black pill community who will argue that they are, because of the way that they look or their height or whatever it is, they will say, well, I am marked out for failure by the universe, and that's a terrible thing, and I'm very depressed about that, but let's all go to Colombia and have sex with some prostitutes instead. And you'll also hear it touted by some of the more traditionalist kind of Chad guys who will be like, oh man, if you're not able to find a stable relationship and as a consequence of that reproduce, then you're a failure, you're a genetic dead end, blah, blah, blah. And I mean, again, I don't want to lead this down an avenue of talking about whether reproduction is a good thing or not. That's beyond the scope of this particular episode. But I would still say that, yes, biologically it is our imperative to get together with another human being and reproduce with them. And, you know, sure, on a very base level, I understand the logic of the position that's being espoused. But, you know, I mean, like, to be honest, nobody really is remembered because they had kids. You know, it just doesn't really work like that. I mean, Charles Dickens had several children, but Charles Dickens is not remembered hundreds of years later because he had a few kids. You know, it's just not. He's remembered because he wrote all of those novels and he wrote his journalism and he was a speaker. You know, he was he performed his work and he did things socially. Those are the reasons that he's remembered. You know, same with William Shakespeare. I mean, William Shakespeare isn't remembered for any offspring that he had. He's remembered because he wrote all of those great plays. So people are significant in life because of what they do, rather than because they followed that biological imperative. Now, I have to say, in a sense, all of that is a moot point, because you could also argue, and I do argue, that any accomplishment is ultimately unimportant when you're dead. Does the fact that Shakespeare wrote all those plays and he is remembered for those plays matter to Shakespeare? Well, no, not really, because he's no longer alive. Does Dickens' legacy matter to Charles Dickens? Well, no, because he's dead. So you could say, and you'd be correct, that anything you do on this mortal coil is in the end meaningless, because you die, you become, you lose all consciousness, you lose all recollection of everything that you did, and then that is it, and it's the end of the story. So yeah, you can make that argument, and that obviously is a very nihilistic kind of black pill style argument, if you like, but it's kind of true. That is the case. But, and this is where the big but comes in, what are you going to do in your life? Are you going to say, well, okay, there's no point in anything, so I'm just going to lay down and die, or even worse, I'm going to sit in my basement and type on the internet all day and complain about women and complain about politics and complain about the elites and complain about all these other things, rather than working to make my life a fantastic and amazing and meaningful life while I'm alive, okay? And so Well, yes, creating a great work of art or creating a fantastic business or creating opportunities for others or helping others may ultimately be pointless at the point of your death, because you will have no knowledge that you ever did those things, and it won't matter to you because you will be decomposing or you will be cremated or whatever you're going to do. While you are alive, it is the achievement of those things that will ultimately give you the greatest, if not pleasure, the greatest satisfaction. Living up to one's highest goals and values is what brings us the most lasting satisfaction in my experience. Now, some might say, well, having a relationship is that for me, but I don't really buy that. I think having a relationship with another human being is important, and it can be very pleasurable, and it can be very gratifying, and it can be very emotionally sustaining, empowering, whatever word you want to use. But I still don't think it's quite the main thing. I believe that all of us have some sort of purpose, and it is in pursuing that purpose, whether we get the levels of success that we ultimately want or not, that is the most important thing, okay? And I do very much believe as well that when you are on your purpose, when you are doing your thing, then everything else kind of slots into place. So if you want women, then ultimately what women are attracted to are guys who are on their purpose, guys who are making moves out there in the world, in whatever sphere it is, who are doing their thing, and who are not overly concerned with how do I get a girlfriend. The guy who is bleating about how do I get a girlfriend on social media or in Facebook groups or whatever it is, it comes across as being a little bit weak. Because what he's really saying is, I need another human being to look after me, or to make me feel good, or to make me feel okay within myself. It's almost akin to the search for a mother figure, isn't it? It's almost akin to that sort of, I just want a woman to look after me. I want sustenance. I want comfort. Okay? And these are not very impressively masculine things to want. Now, sure, probably we all kind of want them to some degree or another, but to advertise that, to make that what you lead with, is not impressive. It's not what makes us look up to another man. It's not what makes us want to be led by a guy. You know, I mean, imagine if Trump, say, split up from his wife, Melania, and he was single, and then he appeared on TV and said, I just want to find a great woman who's going to, you know, become the first lady, the new first lady. That's all I want. How would people's respect for him fare? I think respect for him would plummet pretty quickly, okay? Because, and look, we know from observing Trump, whatever you may happen to think of him, that if that were to occur and he were to separate from his wife, the extreme likelihood is it would pretty much be business as usual. Okay, he would be pursuing his political goals, his business ends, and whatever. Now, that's not to say that in the background, privately, he might not be upset, or he might not be saddened by what had happened. But, you know, his primary thing is clearly not his romantic sexual relationships. And it's the same, really, when you consider any high-powered, successful man, I mean, perhaps women as well, but obviously this is aimed largely at a male audience, so let's think about guys here. Most successful guys who are respected, who are looked up to, who are revered, who are followed, it is very, very clear that their North Star is not their relationships, okay? Because we just wouldn't be interested in a guy like that, right? We are interested in, and we follow, and we are starstruck by men who have something else going for them, who have this larger kind of a goal. And so if you want to be one of those kind of impressive men who have that special kind of charisma about them, who have that special thing about them that makes others look up to them and indeed makes women desire them, then you need to prioritize your mission above women. And so you shouldn't be online asking people, how do I get a girlfriend, right? Because that is secondary, okay? That should not be your focus. Having said that, yes, you should be learning game. Yes, you should be learning about dating dynamics, the dating marketplace, and how to best position yourself within that marketplace for success. Yes, you should be learning charisma. Yes, you should be learning social skills. Yes, you should be practicing this stuff. But, to prioritize, to make your desire for a relationship the primary thing in your life, the primary thing in your mindset is frankly quite weak, and it's not what you should be leading with, okay? A relationship should always come about because the woman has, or the other person has pushed for it, okay? You should be so on your path. You should be so obsessed with your goals that it's an afterthought for you. The other person should be pushing it, okay? That is when you know that you hold the frame in your own life, right? When you are steaming ahead, doing whatever you're going to do, having a great time, and other people are seeking to tie you down. Other people are seeking to get commitment from you. When it's that way around, you hold the frame. When it's the other way around, you are in someone else's frame, and that's not where you want to be. In any kind of relationship, actually, but particularly in a dating, romantic, sexual relationship. All right, so put down all of these thoughts about how do I get a girlfriend. Yes, learn the skill set. Yes, get yourself out there. Talk to lots of different girls. Do lots of approaches, because that's going to strengthen up your social skills. It's going to make you a better operator in the social sphere. But understand that ultimately, this should be very much a secondary thing for you, if not a tertiary thing for you, right? You should be prioritizing what it is that you actually want to achieve with your time when you're on this planet, while you've still got time to do so, okay? And I'm speaking to myself as much as I am to anybody else, but this is the reality of life, okay? We need to put the most important things at the forefront and the other things secondary to that. All right, anyway, I will leave it there for now. This has been Troy Francis with another world-class podcast. Please do hit subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the notifications bell so you get all my videos when they come out. Do grab your copy of Renegade Dating Domination. There's a link to that below. It's my collection of essays from the last 5 years or so. Loads of great stuff in there. It will really help you if you want to improve your dating life this summer. And that's it from me for now. But if you've got any comments, questions, themes, things you'd like me to discuss further on future episodes, then do leave me a comment below, and I will see you again very soon. Bye-bye.